Good evening, everybody. Thanks again for joining me here on another Monday night for an episode of Make It With Me Monday. I hope you had all had a great weekend. It was nice to have a little bit of sunshine peeking through today for a change here in Wisconsin. It actually seemed almost balmy out there today. Just a quick reminder, if you've been following the Facebook page today, you've seen a ton of posts about celebration because this is the day it ends. So this is our last chance to get a hold of some of these great items in here that you can get for free when you place a minimum of a $50 order, and there's a couple of them that are free with a $100 order. Everything I'm using tonight in my samples, almost everything I should say, comes from here. So I'm going to go through, show you a couple of things that I'll be using tonight. I'm going to be using the Daffodil Afternoon Designer Series paper, which I absolutely love, and I think that I love this especially because if you already love the bundle that would coordinate with this, the bundle is already priced a little bit above $50, so you automatically qualify for this awesome designer series paper that goes with it. And honestly, this is one of my favorite sheets because you can just cut it in half and then cut it down a little bit and you've got your entire card front already done. So I recommend this one very much. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to be using these two sets tonight, the Catching Butterflies and the Driving By. And I'll be using some of the Sunshine and Rainbows designer series paper on one of my pieces. And I think that was all of them from here. Yeah, that's all of them from here that I'm going to be using. I do want to point out, in case you're paying attention to some of it, the Simply Marvelous paper is already sold out, so that's not available anymore as of sometime this afternoon. But last I checked, I think that was the only item so far that is completely gone. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to need tonight. You need a piece of cardstock that's 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4.25. And I'm going to say right off the bat, if you decide you don't want to use this as a full card, you can always go ahead and cut the other part off and just use it as a single layer. You'll see what that means a little bit later. This is Pale Papaya. Then you also need another piece of that that's 2 3/4 by 4. Then another cardstock color in a 4 by 5.25. I'm going to be using Basic Black. You needed 2 neutral pieces. One is 3 3/4 by 5, and one is 2.5 by 3 3/4. And then you needed a piece of designer series paper that was 3 3/4 by 3, and I said we're going to be using this horizontally. So if you have anything that is particularly directional, make sure you've got it facing the right direction. And I asked you guys to pick one where you like both sides that coordinate with each other. So I liked this one because the Pale Papaya dots on the back go really nicely with the daffodils. If for some reason you have one that isn't, the two sides just don't match, I suggested that you cut another piece of cardstock this same size that coordinates with the side that you want to use. So in that case, you'll have 2 rectangles, and we'll show you what to do with the other parts once we get there. You're also going to want to have a paper trimmer handy. So the first thing I want you to do is grab that neutral cardstock piece that is the 2 3/4 by 4. This is going to be your focal point piece, and you're going to want to decorate that up with whatever you brought along with you tonight. Hi Kathy, good to see you tonight. Whatever you brought with you tonight, that is going to be either images, phrases, combination thereof. I will show you. I did mine ahead of time just because it's boring to watch me color. So I took an image from the Catching Butterflies, and I'm just going to talk a little bit while you guys stamp your pieces. Give you guys a little time to do that. You can always come back to it a little later if you didn't quite get everything on there that you want, so don't worry about that. Because this piece you can add to our project even after I'm all done showing you what it looks like. So like I said, I took that image from Catching Butterflies, and I used some of my Stampin' Blends to color her in, and I'll show you. Here she is. So she's right here, and I used one of those individual butterflies to color her in. I used a few of the new neutral, a few of the new neutral palette ones that are really pretty for creating all kinds of, I think they're called natural, I should have looked it up, sorry. The natural ones where we have a beautiful array that makes a wonderful palette for skin colors of all arrangement, all from the whole spectrum. It's totally awesome. So I've used a few of those on her tonight, and I've used a few of those darker ones too in her hair. So that gives you a little bit of feeling of what some of them look like. And I did use my Pale Papaya to do her dress. So I have a little bit of the light and the dark, and then I did leave some of her dress a little bit white at the bottom. So kind of doing like a little ombre effect. And then color the butterfly in with a little, I think I used Granny Apple Green and my Pale Papaya again. All right, so you guys can keep that off to the side now. Like I said, don't worry if you haven't quite finished it. You can always come back. This piece is going to be something you're going to see at the very end that we can use easily to stick back in again later. All right, so let's go ahead and grab that rectangle and your paper trimmer. Now remember, we're going to use the 3 3/4 across the bottom and the 3 inches up the height. And we're going to want to cut this diagonally in half, okay? So you put both corners along the track, the cutting track. Make sure you got them pretty much lined up. All right, and then slice that in half. And now we're going to make a pocket basically out of these two pieces. So the one that you cut off the top here is going to flip over and become the other part of this. Now you decide based on what your patterns look like, which one you want showing most and which one you want to have go to the back side, okay? So I'm going to make this one this way first because on my stepped up sample I did it the other direction, so you can see both ways. So I'm going to use my pieces like this. Now you're going to want to grab your other neutral piece, that's the 3 3/4 by 5, and we're going to go ahead and mount that on there. Now bearing in mind, you take the one that you want on the bottom, let's grab that one first, and you do not want any adhesive going across this diagonal. You're only going to go up the side and across the bottom because like I said, we're making a pocket, okay? So I like to just start in the corner and go up and then the other direction. And then again, that 3 3/4 length should be exactly the same as what we've cut here for the neutral. So just make it fit. And like I said, only adhesive on these sides here. So there should be nothing here. You should be able to lift that up and use it like a pocket. Okay. Then we're going to do the same thing to this one. Again, only tape the edges. And then we will cross that one over and we will have a little pocket that we're going to tuck our little image in just a minute. All right, so let's go ahead and do that here. All right, so now we have our pocket, and this is going to get mounted onto that other piece of cardstock that you had that was the 4 by 5 1/4. So again, I'm using basic black, and which is why mine won't quite show up for a second because I have black paper down on my grid paper right now. But I'm going to go ahead, actually I'll pull it off the camera just a little bit just so I can see where my edges are. Okay, there we go. So you're going to mount that onto there. And then, as you may have guessed, it's going to get mounted onto your card base. Now, as I said before, we created this little image to tuck inside the pocket. So this ideally could be a single layer card if you wanted it to be. So you would have this on here, and you can cut this piece in half and just use this as a 1 layer card if you want to. Otherwise, you can have your image still as a pocket, and then you can still put something on the inside if you so choose. So that's going to be your choice. And again, as far as dimension goes, if you decide you want to pop up any of these layers, grab your dimensionals and do that. So you could add some dimensionals to the back of this or to the back of the white piece to start, anything like that that you want to have raised up just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to still complete mine as a full card and give that a little burnish. And then let's go ahead and add that layer on like so. Make sure I got that opening the right way. Okay. Only because it would be totally a thing I would do to put that on upside down and have the pocket going the wrong direction. Okay, so once you have your focal point image done, like I said, if you haven't had that done yet, don't worry. You're going to be able to come back to this point, this step at any time you want. So once that is done, you're going to go ahead and mount that onto your other piece of cardstock that was the 2 3/4 by 4. And then she's going to tuck into that little pocket, just like so. And there you have your finished card front. Okay. So some other options you could think about is that you have some imagery here at the top and maybe a verse that's hidden either here on her itself at the bottom, or you could put a little phrase right here that they won't see until they pull that little part out. So that's always a cute option, especially if you're keeping it 1 layer. You could have a, thanks Amanda, I thought this was kind of fun too. I think I got it as a swap at one point. I thought it was really fun. So like I said, you can do a phrase here if you want, or another little image, anything you'd like to do there. And then feel free to dress up this layer too with embellishments, ribbon, anything that you want to do there. And like I said, if you're keeping it as a full card like we started out, go ahead and add your panel to the inside for whatever you want to do there. Okay, let me show you a couple other samples while everybody's finishing up their projects. This one I used the Here Together, the one that is a special promotion right now. So the DSP that comes with it is all black and white patterned, and I absolutely love it. And I used a couple of the stamps from here to have to put that together. And this again uses those natural touches Stampin' Blends that have the whole new variety of skin tone palette. Love it, love it, love it. So it says we'll get through this together, I promise. And then this little heart is die cut out of the dies that match that particular stamp set. This one again also uses that same designer series paper from the Here Together, but I used the Otter from the Celebration. Oh, I think I forgot to point him out the first time. He is on the same page as the Marvelous. So he's on page 11. So here's the cute little otters. I did stamp his hat onto some designer series paper and then cut it out and pop it up. So his hat's got a little bit of three-dimensional to it. And that accent color is the Just Jade. I love that color, and I'm so sad that it's part of the Exiting in Colors. I think it's so cute. Love it, love it, love it. This one was created by accident because I flipped my triangles and I put my 3 3/4 edge up here. So I turned this one into a horizontal layout instead, which I think is totally cool. And then I added a little bit of a pull idea with that ribbon. And so there's the driving by. So this is using, this particular piece of DSP comes from that Sunshine and Rainbows. So it's just the color palette of Bermuda Bay and Flirty Flamingo with just a little pattern on them, stripes and little little arrow dots kind of a thing. So that was really fun. And like I said, it was kind of created by mistake because I put my first triangle on, I glued the wrong direction. So as I like to say, there's no mistakes in stamping, just opportunities for embellishment. So that's what it is. It made it a different layout and a different way to go ahead and finish up my project. All right, and lastly, I'm going to show you what I did to step this one up a little bit. Mostly what I did is I used dimensionals. So I have dimensionals behind the white layer, like I talked about. Behind the black layer, behind the 4x5 1/4. When I went ahead and did this background piece here, I ran it through an embossing folder first. So it's got the dots folder from the Checks and Dots embossing folder set to kind of coordinate with a little bit of polka dot pattern that's in this designer series paper. And like I told you before, I have the more focus on the papaya piece as opposed to the daffodil. And then when I did her, I added some more elements from that stamp set. So I put my phrase on here. It says, "You make my heart happy." I added the grass imagery for her, like she's running through the meadow. I actually put some brass butterflies on there. And then I added Wink of Stella to her dress. So she's a little sparkly as she goes in there. So same concept, she still tucks in here. Just again, a couple little bitty things to do to just pop that up and make it a little bit different. Let me pull her out up a little bit. So there you go. That's the difference between what I did for stepping it up this time. It wasn't really a whole lot of difference, but just a few. It was more about the embellishments and the little bit of extra, like the embossing folder and that sort of thing. All right, so here are my other guys. I will have, of course, all these posted as pictures in just a little bit once the video is done loading. Whoops. And there you go. So those are what we made tonight. So I hope you like this layout. It's kind of a quick and easy one, a great way to use up just a little piece of designer series paper, especially if you find one where both sides coordinate really nicely. Again, if you didn't have one where both sides played well together, so what I could have done here is I could have cut this piece and then I could have put a solid piece of cardstock here that would coordinate. So either like the papaya or the green or something like that. You could substitute in just a plain cardstock for one of the pieces of those triangles if it doesn't quite work out, that they both match well on both sides. Alrighty, so like I said, I've used pretty much all the elements are from Celebration since our very last night, except for the Here Together collection. And hopefully you have all managed to grab what you want out of that catalog. There's some great stuff still available. I love especially the designer series papers. Those are always a highlight for me because those will carry me well on into other projects that I do for craft fairs and other things beyond this moment. So, all right, everybody, thank you again so much for joining me on this Monday night. I will see you again next week. Take care. Bye now.